like to make things with my hands since I was a little kid. I'm not good at sitting at a desk for a long time. I wasn't good sitting at a desk when I was in school. I like to be active. I like to create things and make something tangible. That's what drew me to brewing, and I love it more now than I did, I think, when I first discovered it 30 years ago.
And there was something about that hands-on creation of something yourself that I think drew me to brewing in the first place. The ability to create something from raw materials, something that's grown in the earth, and be able to create something so delicious. And then on top of that, the industry, man, the craft beer industry is about as good as it gets. I have a love for brewing, but I also have a love for this industry as well.
I've been brewing with Briess for 30 years right now, because I brewed with Briess at Otter Creek Brewing in 1993, and it's 30 years later, and yeah, Briess has been in every batch of Allagash White since we started brewing it in 1995. Well, I started on a shoestring budget. I didn't have a whole lot of resources to get going, so the plan was to do a lot of the work myself. I leased some space in this building, 4,000 square feet out of a 10,000 square foot warehouse, and spent about 8 months just cobbling the brewery together. The other thing that appealed to me about putting it together myself is that we'd have a unique brewing system. A lot of squeegeeing. Jason was around in those days.
A lot of squeegeeing. Hours
and hours with the squeegee because we didn't have pitched floors. I started working with Briess malts back in 1993 at Otter Creek Brewing. And even at the time, we did have a relationship with Briess and the employees, and that's why I chose Briess when I started Allagash, and we've been working with Briess ever since. For me, just the support was always there. At the time, there was a woman named Marianne Gruber who was in charge of quality, and definitely not a month passed where I wasn't on the phone with Mary. She'd always answer. She was always there, to help and support us with whatever challenge we were facing in the brewing process.
As Rob said, we continue to really reach out and rely on the technical team there. I worked a little bit with Marianne in the early years, and then Bob Hansen, and now the team with Betsy and Jordan and the rest of the crew there. I also have always gotten a sense in my visits to Chilton and to Manitowoc, there are some similarities, to Briess, to Allagash in terms of a lot of long-standing employees who've been there a long time. Similar, we have that good fortune here as well. Family-owned, of course. The sense of passion for the work had some similarities to the way we operate here at Allagash. When I think about what some of my favorite grains that Briess produces, a couple come to mind. It's hard for me not to say the base malt that we use. That is a blend of a couple of their products at our specifications, and it just allows us to hit the quality that we want in Allagash White and the rest of our beers. Victory is one of my personal favorites. I think it's hard pressed to find any other malt that's like it out there that produces that same real nice kind of biscuit note.
My favorite grain that Briess produces would be the carapils, and it plays an important role in the Allagash White by delivering some almost mouthfeel and silkiness to the beer without the sweetness. Keeps it sessionable.
And one of the things that makes Allagash White and the white beer style, when it's done correctly, wonderful is just there's a ton of complexity of flavor pieces to the beer. So you've got inputs from the yeast. Character is a huge part of it. The aromatics that come from the fermentation and the yeast we use. Spices, coriander and orange peel are a big component of it. All those need to be in balance. Two different types of wheat, malted red wheat and unmalted white wheat. We use a portion of oats, base malt, and then Briess carapils in there as well.
Just the balance and complexity. I'm still, after nearly 30 years of brewing this beer, still discovering new flavors in it. So sometimes I might get a little bit of smoke or a little bubble gum or some spice or some of that wheat character. And then it's just sessionable. There's so much going on with the white beer style, but it's a really sessionable, drinkable beer.
I think that's why this beer appeals to so many people is if you want to fuss over the beer and get into the details and all the nuance of it, you can. But if you just want to drink it and enjoy the drinkability, the sessionability of it, you can do that as well.
And I get asked all the time, does this beer taste different now than it did back in 1995? And I say, no, it tastes exactly the same as it did back then, when we were actually able to like nail it and get it just the way we wanted to get it, which back then honestly was probably only 10% of the time, and we just didn't have anywhere near the quality resources that we have now. We have a state-of-the-art, really custom-made German brew house. We have a lab staffed with 7 full-time people. We have monitoring devices that I never dreamed we'd be able to have that measure parts per billion in oxygen at every stage of the process. So, I mean, the beer does taste exactly the same as it did back in '95 when we actually nailed it. And now, I feel like 99.98% of the time, we're hitting exactly what we want with the quality of the beer.
Yeah, the vast majority of the beer we make here has Briess malt and grains in it, and it has really from day one. A whole bunch of reasons for that, but it really just comes down to the quality of the grain and the quality of the product we're getting from them.
Is that 99.98?
Yes, 98.98, yes.